In times of trouble, I believe great leaders rise to the occasion. For example, America had George Washington during the Revolution, Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, Ronald Reagan during the Cold War, and during this cultural war being waged by the left, I think Donald Trump is the leading defense of American values. His personality may rub many people in the wrong way. However, when the American people vote, you are not voting for Miss Congeniality. You are voting for somebody who can lead the free world with American values we hold dear. Who will not cave to the socialist naysayers and propagandists? That is why, unashamedly, I support Donald Trump over Biden for this year's presidential election.
Mina Kim is a founder of the Korean American Freedom Alliance and a TV host who often spends her time visiting churches, schools, various local events to share Christian perspectives and worldviews on the values of freedom and democracy. We're happy to have her here this year. How about a warm welcome for Ms. Kim?
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 새해 복 많이 받으세요. 춘제 과일러. I hope I said that right. I just learned the Chinese reading yesterday. And in Korean, I just said, may you have many blessings for the New Year's.
Likewise.
My name is Mina Kim. Thank you for such a warm welcome. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the Montgomery County GOP leadership and sponsors and members for inviting me and having me here today. I'm deeply honored to share with you my journey as the founder of the Youth Conservative Movement in South Korea and also leader of freedom movement in Korean American community in America. This occasion not only marks the beginning of the new year within the lunar calendar, but also serves as a reminder of rich cultural heritages we all carry, regardless of where we may find ourselves. So I'm deeply grateful that America is a nation and a hub that brings these cultures together and where we're able to hear about all the great heritages. For those of you who are not familiar with who I am and what I do, I will briefly share with you my story and how I became involved in civil movement to promote great American values. I was born in Seoul, Korea, to parents who love American movies. Every Saturday night, we would have something called S&M, not SNL, where we had our very own weekly movie night called Saturday Night Movies on our state broadcasting station. I did not have any knowledge about a country called America until when I was 4 years old, when my parents began to show me these interesting American movies. I still don't know the reason why, but whenever the movie night came, I became extremely excited. And at the age of 4 and 5, while all of my other friends were watching cartoons on Cartoon Network, I preferred to watch American movies with my parents. Here we go. My favorite movie I liked watching back then, over and over again, was called Free Willy. Does anybody know Free Willy? Okay. The reason why I'm trying to tell you this story is because what parents show their children when they're young has a lot of influence on their values in the end, in the future. And I have to explain the plot of the movie briefly. The plot of the movie is about a young orphan named Jesse rescuing his new friend, a killer whale, Willie, in an aquatic park. And I was corrected last night that Willie was actually a killer whale, not a dolphin. I was 6 years old when I watched this movie, so. Well, Jesse saves Willie in the end and allows Willie to go back to his family in the ocean. So what I remember from watching this movie was simple. Freedom and family are important. So in 2019, I'll fast forward a little bit. I created a YouTube channel for myself trying to find a productive way to spend my free time. I decided to create English videos, English teaching contents, which became pretty popular. I gained about 10,000 followers within a short period of time. But then as I kept creating educational contents like that, I felt this positive burden in my heart that I wanted to be a good influence for those people that God's given me. So in October 2020, I was looking for some good articles and content so I can translate them into Korean and so that Korean people can study English with it. And I found a good topic that would get me plenty of sources and articles for the next few months. And that was 2020 US presidential election. So as I was delivering the elections news at first, I called myself a centrist. Don't worry, I'm not anymore. I'm more on the far right, as people call me. But because I didn't want to be biased, and also because I wanted to raise many followers, make a lot of money, and build a fancy studio for myself. And then I gained about 130,000 followers in just 2 weeks, as I spent 14 hours every day for 6 months, reading articles, filming, editing, and posting videos. And then COVID broke out. I continued doing what I was doing in the small bedroom. Then on January 6th, 2021, as I was doing a 16-hour live show on my channel on joint session of Congress, about 1 million people gathered to listen to the real-time news on what was really happening in the States. People poured into my channel because the mainstream media as well as the social media canceled and blocked some critical information we need to know. So I try to be true to my audiences and deliver them fair news. And after January 2021, it became more difficult for me to earn profit from YouTube. When I voiced conservatism or Christianity on YouTube, my videos were deleted or were restricted. But I'm still running my channel with the same 130,000 followers after 4 years, and you might wonder why I'm still doing this. Well, I didn't achieve that original goal that I had planned, but then I started realizing that maybe God had different plans for me. So I started attending political conferences and conventions, met many interesting people. Even though I wasn't famous, by God's grace, I was able to meet with many Republican politicians, Christian ones, and hear their true stories. And by attending these events, I met many young Americans engaged in the political process with a deep understanding of the country's founding values. In Korea, we don't really have this. And this inspired me to organize an event last November called Build-Up Korea. If you would see on the flyer on the chair that was there, you could see what happened in Build-Up Korea last year. We invited American conservative politicians and leaders to talk about America's founding values and how it has affected Korea. We had about 1,500 youth attending from all over the nation. We're going to have the second event this year in August. And also we're going to organize the Korean and Asian American community and hold that in Atlanta and calling it Build Up Atlanta, September this year. I believe it is important for people to be engaged and be inspired to love their nation. Do you guys all agree with that? So let me tell you a little bit about me. I was born in Korea and I came to America to study at a young age. I learned American history before I actually got to learn Korean history. I was so into American culture and history that I was not really interested in my own Korean heritage at all. But all this has changed as I learned more about the United States recently through my experiences. I started wondering how my own country was founded, and I realized that I don't really know anything about my own founding father. So I researched. The Korean education curriculum, interestingly like America, is greatly influenced by the teachers' union. And also like America, they want to besmirch the founding fathers. It's the same pattern. The first president of the Republic of Korea was Dr. Syngman Rhee. Korean students learned that he was a dictator and he was responsible for dividing the Koreas and that he was terrible. But as you all may guess, the truth is quite the contrary. So he studied in the United States during the 1900s and thought deeply that Republic of Korea should become like the United States. He spent time here in the United States and he thought that the United States is the true heaven on earth. And it was very unusual at the time for a Korean person to come to the United States and study, because Korea at the time was poorer than countries like Somalia. And he attended George Washington University, Harvard, and Princeton, and he got his PhD there. And then he finished all of his academic process in America in 5 years. Yes, he was smart, but not just smart. You'll hear about him more later. The Republic of Korea went through so many difficulties before it became a free nation. We had to fight against colonialism during the Japanese rule, and then against communism even after achieving our independence from Japan. Our first president, Syngman Rhee, led our country during that period and successfully fought to ensure that South Korea remained a free country. And this is very interesting because the American Declaration of Independence particularly moved him. And I want to read this together with you. I don't have the text here, but I believe a lot of you already know this is from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Yes, he wanted to found South Korea with these exact same principles. The Korean people, who had no concept of freedom throughout their history, because we had lived under a monarchy, Japanese rule, we finally got to experience this freedom for the first time thanks to his vision. Do you know the story of Moses in the Bible when he brought people out from slavery in Egypt? In order for him to lead the people out of the slavery, he had to cross the Red Sea while he was being chased by the Egyptian army. With Moses' boldness and love for his people, he was able to lead his people from slavery to cross the Red Sea. And then in their new land with freedom, God provided them food and clothes. However, even with the freedom, people started to complain to Moses, saying that they needed more food, more clothes, and more comfortable shelters. As soon as they became free, they all wanted to go back to their slavery life, which they were used to. Korean people were exactly the same to Syngman Rhee. But what's amazing about our first president is that he never complained back. He stayed strong, and he led Korean people with certainty that this is the only way for us to achieve freedom. So 70 years later, Korea has become the 10th largest economy in the world, and now is a leader in culture and art. Do you all know K-pop? Pretty girls and boys dancing and singing. And you all like K-food, Korean barbecue, and you can't turn on Netflix without seeing advertisements for Korean dramas. How was all this possible? Well, first, we had American missionaries came to Korea. They spread gospel, they built schools, hospitals, and highways, helped our country develop. And their love was unconditional. And then secondly, we had our great first president, Syngman Rhee, who was influenced by the missionary when he was in jail. And then he received gospel. And then he decided to bring Korea to become a free nation like the United States with the concept of American freedom. And then he continued with the American military leading the United Nations forces to protect South Korea when the communist North invaded. So this unique American quality has touched not only South Korea, but other nations around the world. As you all know, why did America send its young men to fight in 2 world wars in Europe? And after the Second World War, why was America rebuilding Germany and Western Europe through the Marshall Plan? And then after they vanquished the Japanese, they rebuilt that country as well. And what nation is so benevolent and forgiving towards its former enemies? I believe America had realized its calling from God. Those values which were the foundation for the American character induces this country to get involved when evil is occurring. It is ironic to me that countries often openly criticize the United States for some act or policy, but turn quickly to America to fix their tragedy or bloody conflict. And America is a leader of the free nations, right or wrong, and helps other nations walk towards the path of freedom. And our founding father, Syngman Rhee, was inspired by that America, and he wanted to create a Korea which had the same national character, and he did. We've had bumpy road for over 70 years, but I'm optimistic we're on the right path because we have our greatest ally, America. Korea was one of the poorest nations on earth. Now is the second only to the United States in sending out missionaries to the world. So has anybody ever been to Korea before here? Wow. Surprising. Okay. If you go to Seoul, there is a landmark called Namsan Tower. It kind of looks like the Space Needle on top of the mountain. And tourists can go there and look down on the city, especially if you look down to the city at night. You would be surprised as to the number of crosses you see lit up on the top of the churches and buildings throughout the whole Seoul. And I don't know if you've ever seen the famous satellite image of the two Koreas at night. It has the dark North Korea side and then the brightly lit up South Korean side. And I believe the Judeo-Christian values and democracy that South Korea has adopted from America, that has brought us into the light. And that doesn't mean, of course, that everything is perfect. In societies, there will always be those who want to live by their own values. We know that democracies are fragile. Think about it. Does anybody know how old the United States is going to become this year? Anybody? 248. Yes, that's right. So United States will be 240 years old this year. And it's true, it's the oldest democracy on earth. Congratulations. Let me ask you a question. What existed prior to this experiment in democracy? Emperors, kings, dictators, tyrants, for over 5,000 years. So it is in man's nature to be autocratic and controlling. And so even though the United States for 248 years has been democratic, the country will always be fighting nature's tendency to move towards an autocratic and socialized society. In modern America, I believe that's the left. The Democratic Party believes in big government, open border, seems to be anti-Christian and anti-freedom. And they want to decide what you do, how you should do it, and how you should think. And as I traveled around and contemplated all of this, I realized the important role of America has in this world. America needs to be strong. Outside of America, when people hear America first or make America great again, they think that America is trying to be selfish. It is easy to say that, but history proves otherwise. It's never been a selfish country. The slogan means, it's really saying that let's not become like every other countries in the world, but let's stay true to our American heritage. That is why, unashamedly, I support Donald Trump over Biden for this year's presidential election. President Trump could seem eccentric at times, according to some people, but he protected the U.S. border, and he kept the U.S. economy strong, and he tried to cherish the Judeo-Christian spirit of America, and he maintained the order and peace around the world with strength. So for 4 years in office, he was attacked by the mainstream media and swamped. For 4 years outside of the office, he's been attacked by the media and the swamp, and he continues to fight. In times of trouble, I believe great leaders rise to the occasion. For example, America had George Washington during the Revolution, Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, Ronald Reagan during the Cold War, and during this cultural war being waged by the left, I think Donald Trump is the leading defense of American values. His personality may rub many people in the wrong way. However, when the American people vote, you are not voting for Miss Congeniality. You are voting for somebody who can lead the free world with American values we hold dear. Yeah. Who will not cave to the socialist naysayers and propagandists? I think in American politics, Donald Trump. In Maryland politics, who here is filling that role? I think those who are running this year and those who have stepped up are worthy of recognition. And that's why I'm so proud of you here. And I'm proud that you're working so hard to defend the values that aren't popular in the blue state. It may be easy to give up because Maryland's never gonna change, right? But according to the Old Testament, God asked Noah to build an ark out of the blue. The sky was clear and there was no sign of rain, but God asked him to build an ark. Noah made an ark, steadfastly obedient when everyone laughed. And eventually the window of the sky opened and the rain poured down, and the whole world was flooded by water and silence. And at that time, the people who chose to be with Noah were safe and saw God's work. I believe you all are building the 21st century ark now. And there will be a time when it flips. Living in the United States, you enjoy the fruit of freedom born from great values. Although that freedom is threatened by the left, you and the audience continue to fight for the American values. If we go to the Korean War Veterans Memorial in DC, you see a sign on the wall saying, "Freedom is not free." I actually first saw that sign when I was 10 years old, when I came to America for the first time for a space camp at NASA. It was supposed to be a space camp, but when I look back, I feel like God had picked me up and put me into the place which I would find so inspiring today. So freedom has never been free. Where there is freedom, there has always been blood of brave men and women. And maintaining freedom is sometimes very uncomfortable. But once we are a free citizen, it is our calling to become the light to all the darkness. I want to end my speech today with the famous quote, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men should do nothing." You here in the audience today are doing something.
That's right.
God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.